Tim Petrowich for Dateline Marion, and we're here with our weekly visit with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And pretty exciting time for the Wildcats. A big win Friday night over Cahokia, 26-20. Coach, one of those games where you go in as a little bit of an underdog and you go on the road and you take one away.
Yeah, it was certainly a big win, especially at Cahokia, against the team that was the returning conference champ from last year and beat us at our place in a very close, hard-fought game. And it seems like every time we play them, Tim, it's like that. I mean, it's always a battle. It's, we've had low-scoring games, we've had high-scoring games, but no matter what the score is, it's always tight. And it seems like it comes down to the wire. And outside of a couple of years, about, I guess, 2008, 2009, when they had Patrick Ivey and Teron Armstead, who's with the Saints now, and a few other guys, the games have all been pretty close.
Last Friday's game, a lot of people are going to talk about the fourth quarter.
Right.
And you had a couple of your seniors stand out in a big way in the fourth quarter, in particular Drake Vernon. We talked about that after the game Friday night. A near interception on Cahokia drive when they were trying to go down and score and take the lead. And then you take over and drive 83 yards and take 8 minutes off the clock, and Drake gets the winning touchdown in a tough run, and then on the next play from scrimmage he picks off a Hail Mary pass to ice the game. And just talk about that performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, I feel like, I think, Drake has spoken to me about the fact he felt that his junior year was a bit of a disappointment, and I know he was really driven, he was really committed to making his senior year much better. And well, he's done that. I mean, but you can see it in the off season. You can tell by his work ethic, his work in the weight room. He just was very committed. I would come out here and work, and I would see him on the field on his own, doing things. So I'm not surprised, because I think he worked to have this kind of year. But the main thing is I'm happy for him, because you love to see that work pay off in a big way. And of course, it's just benefiting the whole program now, because he's a clutch player. He wants the ball in crucial situations. He's running hard. He's a good pass receiver, playing great defense right now for us. So, yeah, it's a pretty special night, pretty special quarter for him to do what he did. And I don't know where we'd be without him right now, but we rely on him quite a bit.
We've talked all season about the fact that Marion is a big play team offensively. What gets overlooked now, and I think we have to go back and look at this, at the end of the Jerseyville game, you didn't score, but you ran the final 6 minutes off the clock.
Right.
At the Highland game, you ran a 6.5, 7 minute drive down to the last minute to score the winning touchdown. It's Friday night. Not only did you have the long drive, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, to score the winner, but you took the opening kickoff of the second half and almost 6 minutes off the clock then before you scored, and then an 8+ minute drive to score with 8 seconds left. You kind of secretly started controlling the ball at crucial times of the game.
Well, and it's the old adage, keeping the ball out of the hands of the opponent may be the best defense you can play, and that's when your offense is driving the football and occupying the clock, and their offensive unit is either on the sideline or standing on the other side of the ball. That's a good thing. And I think we have had key drives at crucial times in games. I think that's the key. We've not always been a good drive team, but when we really needed them, they've come through with them. And I think Ron Ellis, our statistician, said that we occupied 18 minutes of possession in the second half. When you're looking at a 24-minute half, that's a lot of time to have the ball. And that may have been, and I think at times how quickly Cahokia can score, and they do score in bunches, and they did that against us. We're up 20-6, and next thing you know, it's 20-20 in a heartbeat. And so the last thing I wanted to do was to give them the ball back, and I didn't plan on driving the ball for 8 minutes, and scoring. I planned on scoring sooner than that, but what we ended up doing was not leaving them any time on the clock, just like we did with Highland. So it ended up working out really well that we scored so late, but. I think you're right. That's kind of we've been a big play team scoring wise, but we have put together crucial drives at key times, and that's really helped us.
That final drive, we talked about what Drake did, but you can go back and you can point to 5 or 6 different people
Absolutely.
who made crucial plays, and a couple that stand out a big third down catch by Bryce Cavan. It's the only time he's caught the ball the whole game.
Yeah.
And then another play that I kind of overlooked, and then someone mentioned it to me. Lucas fumbled the ball, and Jonathan Tucker's right there to follow and save possession and keep the drive alive.
Yeah, it's interesting how many different people played a role in that drive, whether it was Brennan Fox blocking or, whether it was Jonathan Tucker recovering the fumble. Bryce Cavanis' catch was a crucial catch, and it's a fingertip catch.
Right.
And he did it off a scramble drill, which means the quarterback got in trouble, and the receivers have rules for how to respond when they break off their designed route to go help the quarterback. It was a scramble drill, and he made the catch at the right place to get a first down. And then Vincent Newsom had a great catch on the sideline, drug the toe. That kept the drive going. And then I put a young man who's always locked in, and he's not a starter. That's Dalton Whitecott. We put Dalton in the game for the final play. And we're in what we call a heavy set, and Dalton and Brennan are going to lead for Drake. And on that crucial play, he is throwing a key block for that. He was in for one play of that drive, and then his block helped Drake to score to tie or give us the lead. And so I think, the fact that so many guys are contributing, and the offensive line played big against a very good defense that entire drive, and all those guys who had good moments and bad moments leading up to the second half controlled the ball and controlled the clock and controlled the line of scrimmage in the second half really well. And it wasn't always easy, but I can't imagine a more team effort than what that drive turned out to be. And Lucas made some gutsy throws, some gutsy runs, and led us down the field late again to win.
Let's talk about him just a little bit and go back and look at the stats. And I've talked about this before. When he misses in the right spot. And you talk about those two catches, the one by Bryce and the one by Benson, where the only person that could have caught it was a Wildcat. Yeah. And now you go through 4 games, and he's not got gaudy stats. He's got pretty decent stats, but the one that stands out is he has not thrown an interception.
Yeah, I mean, we talk to our quarterbacks a lot about some of the best throws you can make are no throws. Some of the best, it doesn't look good on the stats, but if you're not forcing the ball, you're not trying to do too much, you're throwing it away, and you understand I've got another down to play with, or I've got another possession coming up, but don't give the other team the ball and don't give them momentum. And how many times has Lucas changed the field position with a punt?
I wanted to talk about that too.
Yeah, so I mean, he's in a situation where he could try to force a ball in to get a first down. He doesn't do it, but instead he goes in, he stays in his punt or punts the ball down the field, changes the field position, lets our defense do their job. And then, but those little things, our motto, little things mean everything. And in the game of football, those little hidden stats like that, where he's taking care of the football and missing in the right spots, that's things he's coached to do that he is bought into and believes in, and is carrying those things out, and has just had a terrific start to his senior year in the first 4 games of the season.
You brought it up, and I want to go back to that. You brought up his punting and the importance of changing field position. And if you go and look, I think most high school coaches would be good with a punter who averaged more than 30 yards a punt, 32, 34, 35. Yeah. Heading into this weekend's game, he's right at almost 44 yards a punt, which is pretty good for a high school football player.
It really is for a guy that's didn't come into the season thinking he was the punter. So, but again, that's been our season after 4 weeks, is the contributions of so many different kids, the contributions of so many people on my staff who are in the headset saying, draw them off sides, freeze play, and that was a big part of that final drive. And when I'm thinking of the next play, and they're making suggestions, I've got to figure out what I'm going to take and what I'm not going to take. But when you hear someone say, freeze them right now, you'll get them. And, what a great suggestion, because it worked, I think, 3 times on that drive. And
every time on 4th down, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just the contributions of everybody. It's a whole team. It's a whole staff. It's the effort. It's having a very strong fan showing at Cahokia, where we feel charged by that. I mean, we're driving the ball, and I can't even hear the Cahokia fans, but I can hear our fans, and it's a small, more intimate crowd, but it's makes you feel at home, And I think I talked about that after the game to the whole group collectively, but I'm not just saying that to say that. I mean, our fans were loud and vocal and behind us, and that energized us, I think, and I just love the fact that so many people got involved.
So you're on the road again this Friday. You're playing at Mount Vernon, and as you look, Mount Vernon's 0-4, and the thing I notice when I look at the numbers is that they're not having any trouble scoring. I think for the season they've actually scored more than your club has, but they are having trouble stopping people, and they've given up 149 points in their last 3 games.
Yeah, they can score, and that's, of course, that'll keep you up at night worrying about that. I think we have a good defense, but I think they're going to get challenged again this week, as they've been challenged every week by really good offensive athletes. And I think, they're working on the game plan right now, but certainly it starts with their quarterback. He missed last year, most or all of last year with an injury, and we saw him as a freshman. He looked like a promising future star at Mount Vernon. He certainly has fulfilled that. He is an outstanding arm, big body, 6'4", 205 pounds. He's a multi-sport athlete and a great competitor. Last year's quarterback has now moved to slot receiver, and boy, he's
making some big plays.
He's a special player. He's good on offense, good on defense, good on special teams. So they are really, I'm not saying that's the only 2 players they have, but certainly those are the 2 players that stand out when you watch the film. They're pretty dang good, and they're putting up a lot of points against some good football teams. Triad, Taylorville, all top. They're putting up a lot of points against people. So they've got our attention. We'll talk to the kids. We've already talked to the kids a little bit about throw the records out. You can't look at their 0-4 record and think we're 4-0, they're 0-4, ought to be an easy game. This will be a battle. I think our defense has to play really well, and our offense has to continue to get better.
I think one thing you have to look at, and I'm sure you've talked about this and discussed this as the coaching staff and with the players, Mount Vernon has started out games strong, and then they've let them get away. And last week is a good example. They're up 21-0 in the first quarter against Althoff.
Right.
They wind up losing the game late. It's going to be very important for your team to get on them early and get their heads down early, because they know what happens late in games.
That's a good point, and I think you're exactly right. And I don't think our kids have ever been guilty of taking someone lightly or not, looking past anybody with it. It's not something we've ever done before, but I think as a coach you worry about that, because you hear people say that all the time. I know our kids are motivated, they're excited, but getting out and off to a good start, we've done a better job this year than in some previous seasons. I forget what Ron Ellis told me about how many times this year we've taken the lead first, and that's not something we've done the last couple of years, so that's a good sign. We'd like to start fast on Friday and get out in front of them and make them play catch up to us, and let our defense get some confidence, and hopefully contain those 2 really, really good players. And if they're going to beat us, make them beat us with somebody else.
This team is probably one of the most unique teams you've coached here at Marion, and we start talking about when things happen and things like that. 4-0 for the first time since 2010. If I go back and look at that 2010 team, that's the team where you had 4 Division I linemen. You had Shaquille Ivey in the backfield. That was the team that I think everyone expected to go 9-0.
Right.
I'm not saying 9-0, but now here you are 4-0 with this team that for the first time since that team, and they are completely different types of ball teams.
Well, that team, was a really, really good football team. That Aaron Adeoye,
right,
Colin Solner. We're talking had a guy on there that's playing for the
Baltimore
Ravens right now. It's and I'm not. That's just not dropping a name. That's a guy that played offense, defense, played on our tight offense for us at tight end, and that was a good football team. And so, this team is unique. This team, I think, has exceeded some people's expectations. But I think every single team has its own unique signature. I call it that, or fingerprint, or whatever makes them unique. And who they play is different every season. Not team-wise, but just the people that make up those teams. And I think as a coach, the challenge is being able to find what motivates this group, finding the offensive sets, the formations, the plays within your system that fit the skill sets of this particular group. And my coaching staff, I feel like, has done a really good job of kind of piecing together the things that make this group tick, and trying to do the things that they can do well. At least that's been the challenge so far. And I tell the kids all the time, we're a football team that's got a lot of potential. I don't think we played our best game yet. We've had some ups and downs in every game. I'm looking forward to when they finally put it all together. But I'm proud of what they've done so far. But I still think we can be a better football team by season's end.
And I think one thing you don't have to worry about, we talked about this, is the energy on this team, because there's an awful lot of it.
There is, and they're generating a lot of that. And when we talk about that word a lot, but I think the other thing that I worried about when the season started was our depth, and it's still not great, because I know throughout our conference and throughout Southern Illinois and the coaches I talk to, everyone's worried about the lack of depth on their team, and everyone's relying on younger and younger players. A long time ago, the thought of starting a sophomore, playing a sophomore, when I first got into coaching, was pretty rare. Now it's commonplace. Our depth, as many people know, is at the sophomore class. And we are playing some sophomores quite a bit, but some of those sophomores now, we get to week 5.
And they're a sophomore and a half.
They're a sophomore and a half, and they're getting varsity experience, and the game is slowing down a little bit for them because they're on the field enough to where I'm hoping now they can go to another level, because those kids will improve much more than anybody else because they have so much room to grow. And I think the fact they've gotten so much experience the first 4 weeks, we can now rely on them even more, play them a few more snaps, give some of our older kids a break, and I'm hoping that makes us better.
That's Marion head coach Kerry Martin. The Wildcats are at Mount Vernon this Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.